Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon, girlfriends. Thank you so much for taking time out to participate in this very leading edge conversation that we're going to have. And that conversation is about our membership. And as you know, the initiative that I have entitled is Expanding the Circle of Friendship. This whole scenario has been gnawing at me since fall 20, really winter 2019. I figured once I got the website together and also the Parliamentarian Academy, I wanted to take a look at the girlfriends distribution for age, because I think it's so important, not only as your national leader, to look at what's current, but what we look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And the key thing for me is I want to make sure that our organization stays relevant, stays very focused, and also have viability to maintain a legacy. So as a result, I've pulled together 3 fabulous daughters who are girlfriends who are under 50 to give their really upfront perspective of things that they think we as the local leadership team and national should look at as we're looking at our organization in its life. And they will be a part of a panel discussion prior to the Q's and A's that we're going to have. But one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to have a chart so you can see why I have concerns and why under my administration I wanted to have this conversation. And girlfriend Lanella, if you can put that up for me. In 2017, you may recall, you were in sunny Puerto Rico. Why? Because my chapter hosts that conclave. So yeah, I know it was sunny. And there was this wonderful documentation that girlfriend Cheryl Brooks, who at that time was the National Librarian Historian, had shared with us.
Back to some time.
And it stuck with me. As you see here, looking at this survey, a survey, and if everyone can put their audio on mute, I'm hearing some background noise. One of the things that she did was not only look at, what are some of our hobbies, where do we eat? She also asked the age group of our organization. And you will see here that 46.4% of our girlfriend population is 65 and older. Now, I'm part of that group, and I know girlfriends always look fabulous, but the reality is our organization is aging, okay? And when you add in the 60 to 64, then that brings our total population basically being at 61%, that's 60 and over. And then when you add in 50 and over, 81% of our population is 50 or older. So as the national president, I'm thinking, what can we do to get a handle on this and begin to understand it's very important that we have an understanding of our ratios, of our age groups, so that we can be relevant and viable in the future. So with that in mind, thank you very much, girlfriend Lanella. So with that in mind, I engaged these extremely talented girlfriends who are daughters, who are under age 50, to be a part of my think tank, to discuss different ways that we can look at our organization and bringing in really our legacy. And I always say that they're under 50. And it was a reason. I know we have a lot of daughters, but I specifically wanted them to be a part of the think tank because they're going to be a part of our future. Our three panelists that's going to be a part of our seminar this afternoon. Girlfriend Nikki Epps-Brom from New Orleans, and her mother is also on this call, and she'll be having remarks later on, and that's girlfriend Shirley Epps from New Orleans. Girlfriend Aisha Fain from the New Jersey chapter, who is also our national Chatterbox editor, and her mother is on this call, girlfriend Ruby Simpson, and they will have remarks again later on. And girlfriend Rashida Thomas with the Washington chapter by way of Columbia chapter, and her mother, girlfriend Sherry Thomas, is also on this call. And you'll notice that everyone on the call is with our local leadership team. That is either your chapter president or chapter vice president. And we also have our national executive board because we're clearly committed to the viability of our organization. So with that in mind, I would also like to introduce our moderator, girlfriend Lynella Williams. She is my right-hand person. She's my chapter president. I love her, love her, love her. And every time I'm throwing out new ideas for her that pulls us into another technology scene, she'll say, oh, okay, hold up, wait a minute. What do you want to do, girlfriend Margaret? And I just love her. And she is going to be our moderator for this panelist group because the three panelists participated in our chapter event, daughter event. And if you all have your mutes on, that would be great. And one other thing before I turn it over to girlfriend Lynella, we have several of our national executive boards that are on the call. And I know girlfriend Annette and girlfriend Brenda is on the call, but also girlfriend Cherie, our national parliamentarian, is on the call. And she is going to monitor the chat room. So if you have questions, please go to the chat room, put 2 question marks, your name and your chapter and your question. And at the appropriate time, girlfriend Cherie will read out the question to us. And then girlfriend Lynella will then seek out the appropriate panelists to handle it, or maybe a question I need to handle. So with that in mind, girlfriend Lynella.
Thank you, girlfriend Margaret. I'm so happy to be here. One of the things that we struggled with in the Trenton chapter was the aging of our chapter. And so in October of 2020, we decided to have a mother-daughter event. And we invited these 3 young ladies to talk to our daughters, and we had 6 of our daughters attended, and we had games and things like that. But because we were looking at our organization and we had one person that was under 50 at the time, we thought that it was an opportunity to get our daughters, give our daughters a glimpse of our organization. And so it was a very successful event, and it was a pilot for what we are doing today. So I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to moderate. And with that, I guess we can get started with our panelists. So let's start by each one of them telling us, again, their name, chapter, and occupation, and what age did they actually join Girlfriend. So I'm going to start with girlfriend Rashida.
Hi, girlfriends. I just want to say hi first because I see so many familiar faces that I haven't seen in such a long time. So hi, Mom. So I'm Rashida Thomas. I am in the Washington, D.C. chapter, but I started in my mom's chapter, the Columbia chapter. I joined in 2002 at the age of 22. So I was a really young girlfriend, and I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, and I live in DC.
All right. How about you, girlfriend Nikki?
Hi, I'm Nikki Epps Bayham from the New Orleans chapter. I joined in 2017 at the age of 42. I'm an educator. I deal with education consultant. And hi, Mom, girlfriend Shirley.
All right, and girlfriend Aisha.
Hello, everyone, and special hello to my mother. I am Aisha Faines. I'm from the New Jersey chapter. I joined at 25, and professionally, I run a digital education platform for women. I'm a columnist, and my work centers women in power.
Wonderful. So we have some great minds here, and I've been loving working with these young ladies. By the way, I am not in the 65 plus group. I'm close, but I'm not there. So let's start by asking, I'm going to ask you a really important question. Why did you guys join the Girlfriends? And I'm going to start with Aisha this time.
Well, it was a given that eventually I would join. The Girlfriends isn't my mother's only organization, but for some reason it was the organization that I always saw myself in. I felt like it was a good fit for me. A lot of the women were like aunts to me. I grew up around them. I did not expect to join at 25, but I moved away after college for work. And as soon as I moved back into the area, my mother made it a priority. I literally, I think I became a girlfriend a month after I moved back to New Jersey. And I think, you know, sometimes mothers know their daughters. At first it was my mother's organization, but she knew that I was old enough and that it would be good for me, and it was a good decision. Frankly, my mom put me in, but it was a great decision.
So a little bit of coercion, but you kind of liked it at the end of the day. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
I don't know if mom would, I guess mom would agree.
I agree.
She said agree. So Rashida, tell us why you joined, because I know you have a sister also in it.
I do. I have a younger sister who's also a girlfriend in the Columbia chapter. And Lynella, I didn't follow your directions and I didn't say what I did for a living, but I own a strategic communications firm here in Washington, D.C. But I joined Girlfriends because similarly to Aisha, it was a kind of a foregone conclusion. I felt like I grew up in the organization. I mean, my mom was a girlfriend pretty much my whole life. And her chapter girlfriends were like other mothers and aunts and big sisters to me. And so, and also I grew up with my parents going to Conclave and being excited about it. Even my dad would be super excited about it every year, going to Conclave. They always talked about their friends in other chapters across the country and how wonderful Girlfriends was. So I always heard such positive things my whole life about Girlfriends. And I was excited to join as soon as I possibly could.
Thank you. And Nikki, I know you have a lot of family members and Girlfriends. So tell us why you joined. And also tell me, what was your initial perception of Girlfriends?
Right. So I think what's different between me and Aisha and Rashida is that I did join as being a daughter, but I was a little older. And I think that I was able to, I think from the standpoint, appreciate more about celebrating women, women of color, and also promoting friendship. And I think seeing it growing up since I was little, I always saw my mom have the friendships, and that's something that I knew that I wanted to have one day myself. I mean, I kind of always knew that I would join. I was just when, and having children, you know, in my 30s and stuff, I just knew that I had to wait for the time to be right. So when I was in my 40s, that was the right time. But in terms of my perception, my initial perception was very positive. My New Orleans chapter is very positive. We're very, very social. It's fun. I mean, and actually, and honestly, it hasn't even changed much. I mean, I felt like these were women that I knew since I was little, and it made it very comfortable for me coming in because I already knew a lot of these women. And I'm sure Rashida and Aisha can probably say the same thing, that some of these felt like aunts to them. So, yeah.
Anybody else want to talk about their initial perception? How about you, Aisha?
Well, I mean, I mean, to echo both girlfriend Nikki and girlfriend Rashida, I think that, when you have an organization as intimate as the girlfriends, every person is the chapter to a new person. And every person that I encountered had been one of my mother's, not just girlfriends, but good friends. And like I said, I grew up with them. So, I knew it was going to be a warm and inviting space. Yes, it was sort of my mother's organization. I felt isolated because I was so much younger. I felt welcome, but I still felt like, when a little girl tries on her mother's shoes.
Sure.
And I've been in the organization for 10 years now, but it did take a couple of years before it really truly felt like my organization. But that's okay because, sometimes you need a little bit of time to really understand the organization and how things work before you begin to step up.
Absolutely. And Rashida, did your perception change once you came into the organization at all? I know you started in one chapter and then moved. So what was your perception and did it change?
The only thing that I guess I learned was that, every chapter is different. Every chapter has its own personality and the way that they do things. And some concentrate more on business during meetings. Some are a little bit more social or mix it up. And then, not just with the 2 chapters that I've been a part of, but meeting women in other chapters and talking about our girlfriend experiences. I think that's one of the things that I've learned, that each chapter really is distinct. I mean, we're all girlfriends and there are lots of common threads, but the way that each chapter goes about business is definitely different.
Okay. And now an interesting question. So we all know our mothers were in this thing. So how difficult was it to obtain your own identity per se as a daughter of a girlfriend? And I'm going to start with Rashida.
Well, I joined my mother's chapter at the age of 22. So my identity was definitely tied to her. Which, I didn't really have a problem with. It's really just, it was expected. But yeah, so for a long time, I even had, girlfriends call me by accident girlfriend Sherry, because they just kind of saw us as very linked. But I absolutely had my own identity when I moved to Washington and transferred to the Washington chapter. I was definitely known as a daughter, and there were some women who knew my mom. But yeah, that was when I really started having my own identity as a girlfriend.
Great. And what about you, Aisha? Because you're in the same chapter as your mom. So do they call you your mom's name, like girlfriend Ruby?
Well, no, because I look just like my father, so there's no mistake. But I think that my identity is still tied to my mother, to be honest with you. I've been in the organization for 10 years, like I said, and I think as long as my mom and I are in the same chapter, I will always be her daughter. That doesn't bother me though. I do think that, as I matured more so as a woman and sort of came into my own identity, and then certainly took on more leadership positions, became more active within my own chapter, I think other people began to really see more what I was about. But I think I'll always be connected to my mother as long as we're in the same chapter, and it's okay.
And I'm not going to leave you out of that conversation, girlfriend Nikki. So tell me, are you still living in the shadows of your mom?
Yeah, and I think for me, I can't say that that's a negative. My mom was a chapter president. I mean, I think it's just for me, I feel the pressure of, living up to that, coming in and saying, oh, okay, I know I got to do these things. But, I had to find my way. I think being a younger member in our chapter is one of these that will really benefit from this initiative, because we have 2 members that are only under the age of 50. Everybody else is probably 55 plus. So in terms of finding my identity, one of the great things that happened within my chapter is that being a part of the technology committee, on the past conclave, and actually within the technology rep for my chapter, that helped me find a little bit of an identity within my chapter, and them coming to me to help with tech. So, you know, it's helped. But I also think bringing in other younger members and being able to, you know, try to have a little bit more of a voice, that would, you know, help some things. But yeah, overall, it's positive.
Great. Well, speaking of having a voice at the table, what recommendations would you guys have for creating a culture where everyone feels comfortable providing opinions? Because I know as a person coming into the organization, I was, you know, a young girlfriend for a long time, or, you know, a new girlfriend per se. So I'm going to start with Rashida, and let's talk about that voice at the table from a young perspective.
My recommendation would be, you know, it's really comes from leadership. You know, people in the chapter will always look to not only whoever is in the leadership position formally, but also older members. We all know in every chapter, there are those older members who everyone listens to when they speak. And if those members of the chapter always ask younger members what they think, don't let them shy away. Like in meetings, if you're having discussions, say, oh, girlfriend Rashida, what do you think? Or, and it's fine if they don't answer, but at least they know that their input is valuable and it's valued and important to the chapter. That and asking them to join in leadership positions, I think would help bring younger women into the fold a little bit better.
Great. And Aisha, how do you feel? What are some of your recommendations for bringing that voice as not only a member, but now you're on the national, as a national member, board member?
Right. And I feel like I can answer that question in twofold. I think one thing that the New Jersey chapter has done incredibly well is they created a safe space. And so there was never a time within my chapter where I felt like if I had an opinion, you know, whether it was a good opinion or bad or a suggestion, or stepped up for a leadership position, where it was a bad thing, was always encouraged. And I just, you know, when we talk about safe space, it's just, again, not what you say, but how you say it. There's everyone in my chapter is just very warm and girl friendly. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I felt comfortable running for a national position, because I think my chapter created such a safe and supportive space for me. So that counts a lot, you know, just knowing that if you have younger people, they are aware that they're younger, but making it feel like a safe space. I would say on the national level is sort of when I became aware that different chapters operate differently. And I would say to keep in mind that when you have young people who are aspired to leadership positions, every single interaction is representative of the girlfriends. So it's really important that, you know, younger people aren't above reproach, but that we're really conscious of how those interactions go. Because if a younger person sort of, you know, attempts to make this organization her own or step up or do some work, and they feel like they're not welcome, or maybe they're not what, you know, what your idea of a girlfriend is, or, you know, her suggestions aren't what you think, you know, things should go like. And I think it's very discouraging. So it's again, like I said, young people aren't above reproach, but I think we have to be very mindful of how we interact with some of our younger members, because those interactions have greater meaning. Okay.
And girlfriend Nikki, do you have anything you want to add about recommendations?
That was well said.
Yeah, I see girlfriend Charlotte's on. Is there anything you want to tell Charlotte? Girl, no, I'm just teasing.
That was well said by both.
So next question. You know, some of us are mature members, and see, we often have a different view of what fun looks like than a younger person. So what suggestions do you have for creating fun and engaging the younger girlfriends?
To me?
I'm gonna ask you, since you slid on that other one.
I didn't slide. It just was very well. I mean, that was very well done. We've talked about that, and even with talking to the chapter presidents, it seems like everybody, even I think COVID really kind of put a damper in this, but we used to have events, and I'll say for the New Orleans chapter, our Christmas social was very big, and we would invite outside people, and younger members would come, and that was a big deal, and where they got to see our chapter, you know, and that's when older members actually got to engage and interact with maybe some of my friends. And that allowed me to bring in actually put up a candidate and bring in a new member. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, having more events, asking the younger members what is fun, because I think sometimes what's your fun is different than what's my fun, you know. That's all I can say right now in terms of that. I'm sure Rashida and Aisha can expand on that.
Okay. Well, girlfriend Rashida, I'm going to come to you because, you know, my idea of fun, even in terms of music, is 1970s and 80s music.
Well, no, I agree with girlfriend Nikki. And also, you know, make sure that you include your younger members in the planning process. You know, invite them to be on the social committee, ask them what venues in town that are new and popping and you might not know about yet. Ask them their, sorry, but, you know, ask them if they have any connections. You know, they may know a manager of a hotel or restaurant or bar. They may know a caterer. So, you know, just get the input of the younger members, and please don't say all the time, this is the way we've always done things. That's for our generation, that's a huge turnoff. And I can give lots of historical examples of why you should never use that term, but yes. Just, you know, try to stay away from the whole, let's do this because we've always done it before.
Are you talking about like when we've done fashion shows, or what are we talking about? Playing music? Well, anyway, I want you to have that voice going forward. So yeah. I hope we all are listening. Girlfriend Aisha, do you have anything you want to add?
I would say the key thing is to make sure that if you have younger people in your organization, make sure that they're on the program committee or whatever you call that committee that does, you know. And also just bear in mind that there's not that much difference between the generations. Like, I happen to be an old soul, so I'm that person that's like turned the hip hop off, put the Isley Brothers on. But in general, people my age, we like to have a good time, and it's good music, good food, good fellowship. It's the same recipe, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60 years old. So I just think as long as the chapter is a warm, friendly chapter, you know, people have a good time at the meetings, and you are actively doing things and planning things, whether they're book clubs or, you know, socials. That's how you keep younger people engaged and having a good time.
Great. Wonderful. And I think that's a great point. I mean, you know, if I had to explain verses to my chapter one more time, it was real interesting explaining that. What advice would you give a younger woman considering joining Girlfriend? So, you know, because I know that often people think of it as a as an organization for older women. So what advice would you give that younger person who we would want to bring in? I will ask Nikki.
Well, I mean, especially if I was talking to a daughter, I would tell them to take the first step and to join. I mean, it was very positive for me. I mean, I actually like being a part of an organization with my mother. I mean, I think it helped develop more of a bond with my mother, going to the meetings together, you know, developing more of our friendship. I mean, I know it may sound corny to some, but I mean, I think as an adult, it changed our level of friendship versus when I was younger. So I would say do it. I mean, that's just something I would encourage in terms for people who are not daughters of a younger member. I think it's more of, and I actually had this. I actually was talking with somebody who didn't know much about Girlfriends, and had to explain what Girlfriends was, because they were like, well, why would I, you know, what is it? And I had to think for a second, like, oh gosh, I'm not talking to a daughter. Mm-hmm. And they were like, wow, that sounds really interesting, being a part of something that really promotes friendship. So yeah, I mean, if we really think about what the core true meaning of Girlfriends is, you know, I think we could really get people to join the organization.
Good. What about you, Aisha? What advice would you give a younger woman
Well, to actually bring it full circle to one of the first things I mentioned, and I said, my mother, sometimes your mother actually does know best, not all the time. Don't get excited, mom. But sometimes your mom does know best. I think she knew it was time. And I probably would have said, oh, let me wait until I'm 40. Let me wait until I'm 45. That's when I thought I would be ready. I would say do it sooner. We made these phone calls, girlfriend Nikki, girlfriend Rashida, and I spoke to a lot of chapter presidents, and there was a lot of this sense of, the girl, if they're not ready yet, they're not ready. And I would say sooner is better because frankly, when I joined at 25, I was working and everything, but I had free time, it was not a big deal. Now looking at my schedule, if my mother came to me at 35 and was like, okay, now's the time to join, I'd be like, mom, I don't have time, please.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have put it off like another 10 years. So it's good to do it earlier and to get acclimated and let it become a part of your lifestyle. And more significantly, what this pandemic has taught us, time is precious. Have those years with your mother where you can go to conclave. Like, there's nothing like that, so the more years you have experiencing the organization with your mother and what other family members are there, the better. So that would be my recommendation is, even if you think you're not quite ready, I still would recommend that daughters join.
Okay. And girlfriend Rashida, how would you share, or what benefits would you share with a potential young girlfriend coming in? What are some advice and benefits?
Well, similarly to what Aisha said, if you're a daughter, I always suggest that girlfriends bring in their daughters as soon as they can, because like Aisha said, you just don't know, how many conclaves you're going to have together, how many luncheons, how many parties you're going to have together. I've been able to, and I also agree that it does help you bond more. You have a different relationship with your parents as you get older. It definitely evolves, and girlfriends helps you create a bond, a real adult friendship with your mom that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise. Benefits for other younger members, our generation is very transient, and girlfriends goes with you wherever you go. Obviously, unless you're in a town that doesn't have a chapter, but if you are, it's helpful for you to find everything from a doctor to a place to live, to a boyfriend, to a job. It's an incredible network. So that's a huge benefit of girlfriends.
Wonderful, wonderful. And the last question I have is, what advice would you give all chapter presidents and vice presidents on this call? What advice would you give them who are considering under 40 candidates for our girlfriend membership? Is there any advice? Aisha, I'm going to start with you this time.
Well, under 40 candidates or daughters specifically?
Either.
Okay, I would say with daughters, I noticed that, and this is just me reflecting on some of the phone calls, that the chapters that seem to really have a healthy number of daughters were chapters where, I hate to use this word, but sort of grooming the daughters was a part of their chapter's DNA, if you will. So, they brought their daughters to open events. They, if their daughter was in from college, or if she worked in another city and she was visiting home, they were getting together with a couple other girlfriends and having drinks or dinner together. And so they created this real familiarity from a very young age, so that again, there was just this expectation and a comfort level with the organization. So there was no issue with bringing them in or being worried that they, weren't ready once they arrived. So I think creating that culture of bringing your younger daughters even before they're ready around the organization is really smart. And then I think with just bringing in younger people, it's hard when you love an organization and this is your organization, this is what it looks like, and we're comfortable. But I just think you have to have an open mind with different candidates, and just try to open your heart and recognize that, if you don't evolve, you die. So we have to start being a little bit more open-minded and willing to expand the circle of friendship.
And girlfriend Nikki, you did mention that you brought in a friend. So tell me, what advice would you give chapter presidents around considering younger folks, because they will probably be friends of our younger daughters.
Right. What was good was, well, and the friend that I brought in happened to, it was not a daughter. So that was actually, actually good, because a lot of times, we're used to bringing in daughters and not necessarily maybe a closed circle in terms of bringing in a younger person from the outside. I think in terms of talking to leadership, again, a lot of this right now, we're having this meeting talking to chapter presidents, and it's going to be our presidents that are going to go back to the chapter and have this discussion.
Mhm.
And I think that, it's going to have to be real talk. It's going to have to be real discussion about what is our chapter, because even talking to the chapter presidents, there are a lot of similarities across the board. It wasn't that we haven't had these discussions, but it was, why isn't that? It's like we almost get to this final step, but we can't get somebody in, and it's why is that? And a lot of it was, I don't know this person. And so sometimes is that generational? Is it, I haven't seen that face before, I don't know this person. If somebody is 70 and somebody is 20 and they don't know them, why is that? So how can we bring them together so that they'll get to know each other? I know that happened with my chapter. So the way that I got the person in is, I brought that person to our Christmas luncheon 2 or 3 years in a row. So when it came time to put that candidate up, they knew that face. That face was familiar to them. That person got in. So I think it's communication. I think it's, that leader, you guys, being able to talk with your chapter. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying that you guys know your chapters, and that, it's just a real talk, real talk, and it's especially harder as we move. Chapters have conclave coming up, and for our chapters, it's one of those real talks in terms of bringing in new members.
Good, thank you, well said. Girlfriend Rashida, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I want to co-sign on the real talk, and I think that chapters need to have some frank conversations about what membership should look like. What kind of people, what kind of women they want to bring into their chapter. And, it needs to be said that just because she's your girlfriend doesn't mean that she needs to be a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I have some of my closest girlfriends wouldn't make good girlfriends, but they're good girlfriends to me. So I think we need to have some frank conversations about what membership looks like and what kind of women we should bring in that would complement the organization. And also fostering an environment where the younger members of your chapter feel seen and heard and safe. That's going to help them feel comfortable enough to bring in their generation, their ilk, the type of women that they are, and help you bring in those younger members.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. I am going to turn the conversation back over to girlfriend Margaret. I think we are going to answer some of the questions that have popped up and that have came through as a result of these young ladies interviewing many of you. So with that, girlfriend Margaret.
Thank you so very much, girlfriend Lynella, and thank you, girlfriend Rashida, girlfriend Nikki, and girlfriend Aisha. And I think we do have a couple of questions in our chat room. And if our national parliamentarian, girlfriend Cherie, if you can unmute yourself and take off your stop video, if you can just share with us the questions, and then we'll make sure who would be the appropriate entity to answer.
Yes, girlfriend Margaret. Good afternoon, everyone. Our first question is from girlfriend Adrienne Hines from Nashville. She said they do not have daughters who live in town who are interested in, as many of their members are not from that location. So the question is, how do we treat daughters of girlfriends of daughters from different cities? And she said she was in DC and would have loved to join that chapter, but her mom was already out of the city.
I think that may be a question for the both of us. So I'll start off, and if you have, some additional information that you would like to share with girlfriend Adrienne. In a situation where you do not have a daughter that is currently in Nashville, and let's say they are in Detroit. And if you have interest and your daughter has an interest in joining or being a part of the Detroit chapter, it is a must that you as the mother, and I know so happened, Girlfriend Adrian, you're the president. So let's say for one of your members, that you as the chapter president connect with Girlfriend Janie in Detroit to say that we have a daughter that's that lives in your area. She has an interest in Girlfriends, and make sure that she has an opportunity to meet the chapter president, to maybe meet some of the members of that chapter, and also make sure that you have an opportunity to speak with your member to share with her daughter all about Girlfriends. The bottom line is it's seeing your face, seeing your face, seeing your face, as Girlfriend Nikki has stated. And that daughter will go through the process of what is local. And that could be just consensus, or it could be voting. And I will now turn it over to Girlfriend Cherie to add to that.
Girlfriend Margaret, I believe that the next question is very similar to this, but just to add on to what you said, that bylaws do provide for daughters of girlfriends to be voted upon, but it is up to the individual chapter, the local chapter, to decide based on their chapter bylaws as to what the process is. So it could be, like you said, consensus, but there will be a process that daughters are considered for membership within the time frame that your chapter is set aside for voting in new members. So that's the only other thing I was going to add on that one. And just so you know and acknowledge Girlfriend Tamara Johnson from Birmingham, similar question. We have at least 12 members who have daughters who do not live in Birmingham. Are there any considerations for daughters to join other chapters? So I think that was the same discussion that we just had. Next, we have a question from Girlfriend Tracy Young. I don't know what chapter. Can someone
She's with
speak?
New Haven.
New Haven, okay. And can someone speak on how to assist the older or more seasoned members to buy into bringing in ladies under 30?
I'm going to let one of our panelists, I know what I would say, but I'm going to let one of our panelists, and Girlfriend Lynella, turn that over to you.
So I think Girlfriend Nikki had started talking about some of the ways to do it. But I'm going to ask Girlfriend Rashida, because she came in very young as well.
I think I would impress upon them, what is it, people who have been in the chapter for a really long time, are older members, they really care about girlfriends a lot and they're very protective. So then my tack would be, what is it that you want this legacy to be? What is it in this city, for instance, I'll use my own chapter in Washington. What do you want the legacy of the Washington chapter of Girlfriends Incorporated to be? Do you want it to be that it's only members over 60 and at some point they have to lose their charter because they don't bring in enough younger members? Do you want it to be the hottest ticket in town where they're fabulous women and it's multi-generational, and yes, we're still exclusive, but we also stay with the times? I think that would be my tack, thinking about it long term, not just now, but when we're all gone, what is the legacy going to be?
And Girlfriend Aisha, do you have anything you want to add to that? Because you came in at 21.
It's probably apologies. I would say that for girlfriends, the intimacy is one of the most beautiful things about each chapter, that, excluding two very big chapters, most chapters are pretty small and you really get to know each and every one. But that's also the biggest issue facing the girlfriends in the future, is that you get comfortable with your friend group. And I would say personally, if I was trying to bring in someone younger or was advocating for someone, I would identify every chapter has some key decision makers. I would make a very personal appeal, and I also would make sure to bring that person around And I would really emphasize not just that person's accomplishments in their resume, but who that person is. I can remember one of the reasons why I voted for a younger member in my own chapter was because someone stood up and said, this is what this woman did for me after I had just given birth. And I was like, there was not a dry eye in the room. And I think sometimes we're all women, those heart to heart connections, and those are the kinds of stories that can get people to, you know, open their heart and expand their friend group.
Great. And girlfriend Margaret, I know you wanted to add something. Is there?
Well, I have an opportunity to look at the host schedule. And being a part of a organization and a chapter that has recently put on Conclave, clearly, you know, if you're doing Conclave in the next 20 years, you really have to look at the makeup of your organization. And girlfriend Lynella can attest to it. When we've done Conclave, not only the assessment is one thing, but the work that's involved, the commitment, the hours, the multiple committee chairs that, that are available. And, you know, if you have members who are my age, 68, and in 20 years, you're going to have Conclave, trust me, I will not be volunteering anything at age 88. So you need to start cultivating not only daughters, and as you notice, we talked about daughters, but also candidates who are under the age of 50, because that is what you're going to need to have to maintain the legacy and the excitement of your organization in your city, as well as putting on a conclave. So clearly there are always reasons why a chapter may be a little hesitant, but if you set aside personal thoughts and reason and look at the health and the welfare of your chapter, which is the health and welfare of our national organization, your heart is going to be a little bit more open to it.
And I would just add around being a mentor to a younger person. I mean, as a young person, I always had older women friends. And now as an older person, I now mentor younger women. So I think it goes both ways. Absolutely. And the young people keep us young. So I would say that that's an important thing as well. Any other questions, girlfriend Cherie?
Yes, we have one other question from girlfriend Muriel Holloway from Springfield chapter. We have few legacy options, so our challenge is how to make girlfriends attractive versus or more so than other organizations. So what about?
I'll take a stab at that, and then okay. Girlfriend Lynella, you can also join in. One of the things that we have to be very honest about, talented, accomplished women are exposed to a tremendous amount of organizations, whether, you know, it's a sorority, whether it's links, whether it's women of distinction or what have you. And it's how we package what we bring. And what the beauty of Girlfriends is, it's fun. It's fun. It's a group of 1,867 women. When they get together, they have fun. Now, sometimes we'll be in competition with Jack and Jill. That is to happen, but it doesn't stop you as a member to invite that Jack and Jill mom to your functions. I know we now are in COVID, but even the wine tasting on Zoom or the mixologist, we've been so creative during COVID. invite them to this, because there's going to be a time that there's going to be a transition that, Jack and Jill, their kids are not young, and they're maybe be in what they call the teen group, and they have a little bit more time to participate. So, we have to package, and I'm using that word, I don't want to sound marketing, but it's true. We have to package that we are different. We, per our bylaws, have made a conscious, intentional effort to keep our organization small so that we can network, so we can foster relationships and friendships. And that's what we should be sharing with not only our daughters, but also, potential candidates that are under the age of 50. Girlfriend Lynella?
Yeah, I think I would agree that it's all about branding, and people want to be around people that they like.
Mhm.
And so, when we make the organization or the people attractive to the organization, that's how we get those kind of women. I know in my case, I know people who are in sororities, I know people who are in links, all of those things, but they still want to be in girlfriends.
Mhm.
So it's still and I don't know whether it's because it's such a smaller group and more intimate setting, but they still want to be a part of it. So I think that, it's from a branding perspective, it still is an attractive organization. And I don't know whether it's because of the mystique of it. Could be, I don't know.
I would say it's a mystique.
I'm going to turn it to one of the young ladies, girlfriend Rashida, because girlfriend Rashida is worldly. Every time I see her, she's somewhere. Where in the world is girlfriend Rashida?
Not now. For the past year, I've been right
Well,
here.
without COVID, before COVID. So, what would your recommendation be?
I think that you guys pretty much nailed it. You want to be with like-minded people, that's really it. I know that there are women who I have not wanted in our chapter because I'm thinking ahead to conclave planning. And what I know is I don't want to play in conclave with this person because I know how stressful that is. Our professional lives are stressful enough. Girlfriends is supposed to be fun. So you want to bring in people that you want to have fun with. So.
Great. Okay. Any girlfriend Nikki or Aisha, would you like to add to that?
I would just say if a younger person put up another younger person, and obviously that's all supposed to be private, but now let's say we're at the point at which the candidate knows they're in and they're trying to make a decision. I'm in this organization and that. I think that's where, number one, and I think girlfriend Rashida said this earlier, making girlfriends such a safe space for your younger people so that whenever, I'm talking about girlfriends or one of your younger girlfriends is talking about it or inviting their friends to organizations, it's this wonderful organization. And because to that person who's not in it, what they know about the organization is really, what I tell them and what they experience when they come to events, with me or, that sort of thing. So I think as long as younger people feel comfortable about the organization and you're having events where they can invite, friends and they can see it for themselves, I think the branding issue solves itself. We are a fabulous group, and I think anyone who's in our presence can see that.
Right. That one.
Great.
Thank-
Okay, so I'm going to, I'm sorry, girlfriend Cherie, do we have any more questions?
No, we have one comment from girlfriend Maria, and it says, I think Girlfriends has the opportunity to target daughters and daughter-in-laws. Many have sons. They also serve as a talent pool for girlfriends.
Absolutely, girlfriend Marie. And that was one of the things that I was going to say in my comments a little later on, but I'll say it here. Yes, daughter-in-laws are also a talent spot for us, because we have many, many girlfriends who have sons. And I know there are girlfriends who are daughter-in-laws that have been brought in by their mother-in-laws. And so for our webinar today, we want to make sure we're not walking away that it's just about daughters, and we could be daughter-in-laws. It could even be a niece that you feel really fit the bill of what we're looking for girlfriends, but because daughters are the quickest space that we can tap in, that's why we're talking about daughters. But clearly, this opens the avenue for daughter-in-laws, nieces, as well as daughters, and also younger women. So please, as you're talking with your chapters, thinking about the concepts that girlfriend Nikki, girlfriend Aisha, and girlfriend Rashida have shared with us, because it's really what we want to tap into as we're looking at that new segment. A girlfriend Cherie, are there any other questions?
No, not at this time, girlfriend Margaret.
Okay. Thank you. What I'm going to do now, as you may recall, as a chapter president, you had the opportunity to speak to one of the three girlfriends that were our panelists for today. And that was purposeful, because I'm a true believer of mentoring. And I said, if we're talking to our local leadership team, you need to hear from them. What are those important factors that they are dealing with in their chapter? And we had several takeaways from the specific talks, and some of the things I just want to share with you. One of the things that came up is, maybe my daughter is, not ready because she's doing a couple of things, and she's, in Jack and Jill, and or she's in another organization. And one of the suggestions that has come up in a number of conversations, that maybe as a mother, you might want to assume or gift the first year of financial obligation. And it kind of takes the little pressure off. So something you might want to think about. And I think our girlfriends who are on our panel, I know at least two were gifted their first year or maybe 2 year of dues for girlfriends. Also, the question of, should the nominee be aware of their consideration? Now, there is bylaws and there's tradition. There's nothing in our bylaws that says that we, cannot share with our candidate. However, we go from the gamut of they don't know until they actually get the letter to, I'm sure some a girlfriend out in girlfriendom that has text their candidate immediately after the election. And what I'm saying to you is, we're not going to monitor that continuum, but I would strongly suggest that because this is done by vote, you have to manage the expectations of your candidate, because there could be a possibility that the candidate does not receive the correct amount of votes to be a girlfriend. So just manage the expectations. And I'm not saying that they have to be at the continuum where they don't know until they get a letter in the mail and they say, oh, what is this? Nor do I expect you to text the candidate immediately after the voting. Another question that came up is, how often should we bring in new members? Now, that's going to vary. And I'm just going to suggest something different for two of our chapters, DC and Atlanta. Currently, DC chapter, the Washington chapter, and Atlanta chapter have over 65 members. And that includes daughters, transfers, active. And it's it gets a little overwhelming at the meetings. I mean, just to find a place to meet gets a little overwhelming. So what I'm about to say right now, that's excluding Washington and Atlanta, because I know they're in the 65 or more members. I would say if you have not brought in new girlfriends in 5 years and you have available openings, you need to start thinking about bringing in new girlfriends. 5 years, I think, should be the longest that a chapter should bring in girlfriends. Now, I will also say that we, in Trenton chapter, we did conclave in 2017. We consciously made a decision of not bringing in anyone in until 4 years later. And we just brought in 6 new girlfriends January 2021. We have not had new girlfriends since, I guess, 2015, so 6 years. And that was a conscious decision because, when you do conclave and you do assessments, you just need that time to regroup and exhale. And, I'm just thrilled. It is an infectious excitement about new members who are like, oh, okay, so now do I wear my pin for this? And it's just every little detail that really re-energize us because of the newness that they have with it. So 5 years should be the longest that any chapter should go without bringing in new members if they have the openings. Okay. Another question that came up a lot in that calls that you had with our panelists is age 21 or 25 too young to bring in a daughter-in-law, or granddaughter? I'm going to say no. And the reason why I'm going to say no, because if it's a daughter, daughter-in-law, or granddaughter, they know about girlfriends. They've seen you go to the functions. They've heard you as a member talk about that organization. And if they have the desire, yes, absolutely. 21 is not young. Absolutely, 25 is not young. And guess what? They're going to bring a whole new perspective for your chapter. Now, let me tell you, change sometimes is difficult for us, but the only way that we're going to maintain our legacy is to allow change. I'm from the old school of writing my dues with a check. We do PayPal now. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me to get used to because I'm so used to writing out checks. But it's a good thing because the money goes in quickly. Our treasurer can do the reconciliation of our books and can have a quick and up-to-date report. And so, I have to kind of give up my checks. I didn't want to, but I have to. But it's a new age. But for our newer girlfriends, they automatically ask, what's the PayPal account? And when I came
Venmo.
Venmo, what's Venmo?
Venmo.
Right, Venmo. They'll ask Venmo or any other electronic way. But that's the age that we're in. Allow the change to happen. It doesn't take anything away from our organization. It just makes us more efficient. And the last question is, how do we encourage younger members to be involved in leadership role and partner with seasoned members? Girlfriends, I think girlfriend Aisha, girlfriend Rashida, and girlfriend Nikki hit it on the head a couple of questions back. You gotta create a safe space. You have to. You have to allow, I'm talking about now the daughters who are there, because they're thinking about who they want to bring in. And the more comfortable they feel, it's easier for them to share their experience with their prospective candidate. Be willing to give up power. Giving up power does not diminish us. It allows us to mentor. It allows us to mentor, because when our younger girlfriends thrive, we thrive. And when we are passing the baton, we're passing the baton of a legacy that is open for change. So if we are going to partner, our younger members with our seasoned girlfriends, we have to do that so they'll feel comfortable in leadership. And I know we do that in our organization. And sometimes we put them on the spot where they may not be willing to say, oh, I want to do that. But you encourage. You say, you kind of take on that little role. Yes, you will. And this is how I'm going to help you. And people are always open to help. When you say you're going to help them, they know they're going to be there. And guess what? It is okay to fail. It's okay. We're human. But be there for that young member who may have done something incorrectly, unbeknownst to them, but be there to kind of be that wing to pick them up and say, okay, this is what you did wrong. And let me tell you, if you're going to approach this way, these are usually the consequences that takes place, because we as a seasoned member know our chapter. We know the personalities in our chapter. And so, we can always pull that girlfriend to the side and just say, yeah, this is what you did wrong, but I still love you anyway. And then this is how we're going to recoup from it. So we got to be very open. We got to be willing to release the power to our younger girlfriends, so that they can feel comfortable in being in not only the chapter leadership roles, but also the national role. And girlfriend Aisha, I'm not going to put her on the spot, but, I'm always there like, okay, this is how you do it. You got to come correct. This is what they expect from you. And that's the learning tool, because when you're in a national position, there's additional expectations that you have to uncover and also execute. And we want our younger girlfriends to feel comfortable about not only looking at local leadership, but also opening up and participating on the national level. But it all starts with the seasoned girlfriends. Okay. Before I close, girlfriend Cherie, are there any other questions?
The only other question is from Tracy Freeman, girlfriend Tracy. Can we get a copy of the recording? Yes,
absolutely. You will have a copy of the recording, and it will be post on our website. It probably will not be until the second week of March, because we're in the throes of a lot of things now. But yes, this will be available, and we are recording it. So you can use this, you can look back on it, or have one of those, as we said, a leading edge, deep down discussion with your members. Any other questions?
There are no other questions, but girlfriend Beth Espy has an announcement to make. Speaking of national level participation, tomorrow is the deadline for nominations for Chatterbox editor and national secretary.
Oh, girlfriend Beth, could you just unmute yourself and just tell that to us in person? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Just want to remind everyone, tomorrow is March 1st. It's our deadline for nominations for national Chatterbox editor and national secretary. So if you have any chapter members who are interested, or if anyone on this call is interested, make sure that you email me your nomination form by tomorrow at midnight. Thank you.
Thank you. And what time is it tonight?
Yes, thank you for reminding. Tonight, we're
Yes.
having our Zoom call. The National Nominating Committee is hosting a Zoom call on campaigning, do's and don'ts, campaigning guidelines for this year. So we would love to have you jump on that call, even if you're not interested in running, just to have the information. And then we're going to have another Zoom call in March. Since we don't have our traditional conclave, this is an opportunity for the candidates to come on Zoom, do some campaigning, so the entire membership has a chance to see them, and then we'll take questions from the audience for them to answer as well. So that'll be in March. So, but tonight at 8 o'clock, and if we have a few minutes, I'll post the link in the chat so anyone can register for that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so very much. Girlfriend Cherie, are there any other questions?
Yes, Girlfriend Margaret, we have two questions that are unrelated to today's topic. They're related to conclave. So would you like me to answer
Yeah.
those?
Is this something I can do offline, or something that I can?
It's related to non-email members registration.
Okay.
When that be available? And the other one was someone who can assist members with conclave registration. So,
Two things. One, all of the girlfriends who do not have email IDs were given a postcard. And in that postcard, it was basically an invitation, and it says to contact their chapter president. It is the role of the chapter president to identify those girlfriends who would like to be on the call via phone. Because if you don't have email connection, you will get a phone number. The chapter president will receive a phone number, and it is the responsibility of that chapter president to communicate that phone number to that member without an email ID. So that will be made available to the chapter presidents by the first week of May. However, the chapter president should know on or before the April 16th who will need to have the phone number. Okay.
I just want to add, those who have, who did not give us the right email addresses, and we have to update them all in batches. So if there are people who cannot register that have emails, if you send them to me, I collect them, over a couple days, and then I send them to the event person, because there were so many wrong emails or whatever that we decided to batch them and send them to them, so if there are those folks who still have members who cannot get them on, send them to me. I will send them midweek to the events person, and then we will let you know when they are updated. Because there were some people who we had different emails for, and then they must have changed them in the process. So whatever email we had at the time is what we included. So we've been updating the MailChimp and the events people at the same time.
Great, thank you so very much. And the question that related to assistance for registration, it's any questions that you may have, you need to send it to at info@evincibles.com, and that will go to our vendor. We will then make sure you have help. We try to make the registration process as user-friendly as possible, but if there's some, in that email to info@invincibles.com, be very specific of what you're looking for, okay? Any other comments, Girlfriend Cherie?
yes, one last comment. It appears from Girlfriend Beth Espy. Who should we send additional comments on today's topic to after we speak to our chapter?
You can send those comments to me, Girlfriend Beth. Okay.
And that is all that I can tell at this point.
Okay, great. Thank you so very much. And when I gathered my three panelists, I told them as we were talking, I said, I'm going to invite your moms, and I want them to have an opportunity just to share their experience. And if girlfriend Sherry and girlfriend Shirley and girlfriend Ruby, if you can unmute yourself, the question that we would like to ask you, what is the best part of having your daughter be a girlfriend? And I will start with girlfriend Sherry from the Columbia chapter.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so much for inviting us. It has just been so wonderful to listen to my baby. And it's just been so wonderful to see all my girlfriends that I did not get to see this past conclave because we had a virtual conclave. So it's just so great to be here. I'm a charter member of Columbia and chapter, and we worked very hard. If anyone has ever been a charter member, you know how hard we work. And Rashida was a preschooler when our charter was established. And so she definitely grew up in the culture. And we were all young, most of us were young mothers, and it was just a given. We knew that our daughters were going to also be girlfriends. And the first conclave that we attended together was in Miami. And our chapter member was also, Lynn Rogers was also elected national president at that conclave. And I can't tell you the joy it was to have her there with me, and then to have my baby, Nikia, also join. I love the tradition we have during conclave, and we recognize the families, the mother-daughters, mother-daughter-in-laws, et cetera, et cetera. But it is just a joy. I have no other words to tell you that to have my daughter be a part of something that I worked so hard and still am a hard worker for girlfriends, and I have a love for girlfriends, and I'm so glad that she loves it, that they both love it, and it's so wonderful that the legacy will continue.
Absolutely.
Oh, love you, Mom. Miss you.
Miss you too. I haven't seen my child in over a year.
I know. Oh, I'm crying.
Oh,
I'm gonna get vaccinated soon. We'll figure it out.
Yes.
oh, the throes of COVID.
Yes. Yes.
Thank goodness we have the Zoom. Well, thank you so much, girlfriend Sherry.
Thank you, girlfriend Margaret.
Thank you. Girlfriend Shirley, that's from the New Orleans chapter. If you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. I'm so happy. And to my daughter, girlfriend, Nikki, I love you and great job. I actually came into Girlfriends as a daughter-in-law in 1982. So daughter-in-laws do work. Actually, I have two daughters that are girlfriends. Besides girlfriend Nikki, I have girlfriend Dr. Kelly Epps Anderson from the Washington, D.C. chapter, Rashida. And the best part of having a daughter as a girlfriend is that I have been able to see my daughters, both of them, take an active role in promoting the Girlfriends initiatives. Nikki, in addition to serving on this panel, she's also served on the technology committee during the past conclave. And girlfriend Kelly was a panel member on the Navigating Our New Norm, the death discussion on COVID-19. I think she did a fabulous job. As a past president of New Orleans chapter, I am so happy to see this discussion focusing on the importance of daughters and younger members. And I hope it continues and move forward with accepting new members into the chapter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, girlfriend Shirley. And girlfriend Ruby Simpson from the New Jersey chapter. What is the best part of having your daughter be a girlfriend?
Well, Aisha is an old soul. So she and I have been very close friends for a very long time. And probably being a girlfriend, she's my best friend now. There's no one else I would trust my secrets to because I know they'll go to her grave with her. But when she went away to college at 17, she came back at 25. And so we had been away from each other for almost 8 years. And I thought it was a good time for her to join Girlfriends because not only do I believe that it takes a village to raise a child, I thought that if she traveled anywhere in the world, she would have friends. It would be a great way for her to network and to meet people all over the country. So that's why I thought it was a good time for her to join. And I just also, in addition to having her as a daughter, I recognize in her all the characteristics that it takes to be a good girlfriend: compassion, loyalty, dedication, consideration, generosity. And I just can't imagine having any other girlfriend who doesn't have those qualifications. And so I'm thrilled that I can spend, we're both very busy now, and especially since she doesn't live with me, when we're at girlfriends meetings, it's just a joy to spend that time with her, whether it's local or at the conclave. And I just ask that, you know, we continue to nurture our younger people, our daughters and other friends of our daughters, and that when they come into the fold, what they're doing is different, not necessarily wrong, just different and more progressive. So we need to coddle our young people and make them feel comfortable, make a safe space, even in the national level, and be girl-friendly to the new people.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so very much, girlfriend Shirley, girlfriend Sherry, and girlfriend Ruby. And as you all know me, I never do an initiative without a goal. And as I looked at our organization, right now we're about 18% of girlfriends that are under the age of 50. I would like to see our organization over the next 2 years, by the time program year 2023 starts in 2024. So we're talking 2 years from now. I would like to move from 18% to 25% of our membership being under the age of 50. So what does that mean? Roughly, we have 1,865 girlfriends. And of that number of 18%, that's about 339 girlfriends who are currently under the age of 50. I want to move that to 466 girlfriends in 2 years. And I think we can do that. And I know we have a lot of chapters that have openings, and I know we've done a great job this year just looking at the requests for handbooks and for our bylaws. I know we brought in a lot of new girlfriends for this program year, but I'm going to put this charge out, not specifically at each chapter level, because some chapters may not have openings. Others may have 5 openings. Other chapters may have 10 openings. But if we look at a national level, that we move our population of girlfriends under the age of 50 from 18% to 25%, I think we can do that. So you'll be hearing more of that. And, you know, whoever my successor is in June of 2022, that will be one of the first things that I talk with her about, in making sure that we cultivate and maintain the viability, the legacy, and the relevancy of our organization. Because if we don't, we won't be, as my grandmother used to say. So with that in mind, girlfriends, thank you so much for spending 90 minutes with me, girlfriend Rashida, girlfriend Nikki, as well as girlfriend Aisha and girlfriend Lanella. This has been a joy. You will have the recording will be posted on our website during the second week of March, and I will send out a notification to the chapter presidents when that will be made available. So thank you so very much. And if you haven't registered, register. You're going to have a wonderful, wonderful time. The Thursday night kickoff with our comedian, Kim Whitley. You're going to be serenaded by Will Downey, and we're going to have a DJ from LA that's going to play all our jams. So that's the reason why we ask you on registration, what song do you jam to? We always do things with purpose. So we're going to make sure we've downloaded all those jam songs that our girlfriends have listed, and our DJ will make sure it's on our playlist. So thank you so very much. I love you all. Take care. And we can do this. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, girlfriend.
Great
Thank
meeting.
you.
Great meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, girlfriend. This was great. Bye-bye.
Hi, Georgia. I'll